Hi again, everybody. Welcome to the official Colts podcast, the Thursday edition as the calendar flips to November. Good to be with you here on YouTube and the Colts Audio Network with the legendary Bill Brooks, former Colt and former Buffalo Bill, by the way. That's always fitting this week when the Colts and the Bills get together, doing so for the first time since 2021. Casey Vallier played for neither the Colts or the Buffalo Bills, nor did I. I'm Matt Taylor, and we are here talking about a huge Week 10 matchup coming up for the Indianapolis Colts, a return home after 3 of 4 on the road. So, fellas, obviously, let's put the bow. We don't need to spend a lot of time on that Minnesota game, but Bill, your final thoughts after a really sluggish, disappointing outcome for the Colts, especially on offense in a primetime game.
Exactly. I definitely expect a little bit better from the offensive standpoint in regards to what the Colts played against Minnesota. But it was a tough game.
Yeah.
You know, give Minnesota credit. They did what they needed to do to score the points, and the defense played well in the first half. But, you know, Minnesota did enough to score points and pull out the win.
No doubt about it.
I mean, that's really it. I mean, ultimately, you take a lot of positives from defense. You have 3 takeaways. You have a defensive score. But when you don't score any offensive touchdowns, it makes it tough to win football games. Yeah. So there's a lot to grow on. But, you know, another close game, as we continue to talk about. It's a one-score game. So tough one, but definitely moving forward for sure.
Colts didn't find the end zone nor the red zone in that game on Sunday Night Football. And Sam Darnold goes for 82% completion percentage. So still a lot of things to clean up. As now, I guess we can say we are officially now into the second half of the season, going into the month of November and Week 10. All right, a big podcast here today. As we said, we're kind of at the halfway point. We're going to talk about the areas of this team that are still vexing the Colts. I used a good word. Vexing, plaguing, whatever antonym or synonym. It's a synonym.
That's what you did. You went to the thesaurus.
I went to the right-click thesaurus. Rhymes with. There you go. Also, center Tanor Bortolini is going to join us. He could be back in the starting lineup coming up this weekend. That's because the injury to Ryan Kelly popped up on the radar this week for the Colts. So he's on IR, which means he's going to miss at least the next 4 games for the Colts. So he's going to break down that possible big opportunity for him. He's already started a couple of games as a rookie earlier this season. And we're going to preview Sunday's game. We're going to break out some wing sauces. Anytime you play the Buffalo Bills, you got to break out the wing sauces. So we're going to bust out hot takes, mild takes, and then I threw in dry rub. Are you guys a dry rub fan? I don't know.
I'm not.
There's a couple that I can get down with. Like, if I make them myself, I'm good with it. But if I go somewhere, I have to go with a little sauce because I'm not sure.
Sauce. I'm a sauce. I'm not a dry rub.
But I put it all in ranch. So at the end of the day, the dry rub just goes into ranch, or the sauce goes into ranch.
You can't taste it anyway.
Right. Exactly.
Ranch. America's favorite condiment. All right, let's pick up with the Ryan Kelly news. Obviously, it's big because he's the longest tenured Colt. His captainship, his leadership is going to be missed. Tanner Bortolini's already started 2 games, and this is one of those things where, you know, he's going to be playing with a quarterback that he's familiar with in Joe Flacco. But how big of a loss is this in the short term, Bill, for the Colts offensive line that's already dealing with some injuries? Good news, Bernhard Raimann is tracking towards coming back this week.
Yeah, I think it's a loss. Anytime you lose a veteran player, especially the center on the offensive line, a guy that helps direct the offensive line when there's checks and movement from the defensive line and put them in the right position. So I think it's going to be a loss that will, I won't say it will hurt them, but it's something that they're going to have to be aware of. But I think Bortolini or whoever's going to be in there will do a nice job because, like you said, Bortolini he's played with Flacco. Mm-hmm. He's familiar with Flacco. So I think everything will be okay with him in there. But it's still going to be an adjustment for that offensive line. Yeah,
you're down Will Fries, although Dalton Marshall Tucker, we should say, has played very well the last couple of weeks. It's Dalton Tucker from Marshall University, okay? Right. I'm sorry, he'll never not be Dalton Marshall Tucker. But, you know, Bernhard Raimann, I thought Matt Gonzalez played really well last week. I talked to him sort of off the record in the locker room this week, and I said, hey, big fella, how'd it go? He's like, you know what? I had a blast. I've never had more fun in my life. His first start in the NFL. He's like, yeah, that last drive kind of got away from me a little bit when they were pinning their ears back, up by 2 scores. Colts are out of timeouts. He's like 58, meaning Jonathan Grenard is a freaking good football player.
Yes, he's a very good football player.
He is. You know, that's a baptism by fire deal. But what's your level in Tanner Bortolini if he has to step up?
Honestly, I've been very impressed at all of the rookies. When you look at that offensive line, you talked about Gonzalez. Tucker has stepped in and played well, but we thought that when Tanner Bortolini earlier in the year was inserted, you didn't realize that he was out there.
Yeah.
And that's, when you say that about an offensive line, that's kind of what you do. You want to tip your cap and say, yeah, you didn't notice the play out there. Ryan Kelly, you can't overlook the leadership, what he's done for. I mean, he has been one of the staples for this team for so long, longest tenured Colt. But it is one of those things, too, where, Tanner has stepped in and he's played well, which gives you a lot of hope that, you're not missing too much with a younger guy getting in there.
All right, so that's a big headline this week for the Colts going into a big game against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, obviously, one of the better teams in the NFL. 4-game winning streak. They're 7-2. They've won 4 straight games. But let's talk about some of the areas that are, again, that are providing still stress for this team. Some areas that they haven't been able to figure it out. My favorite movie is Back to the Future. You know this about me.
Yes.
You're not a fan.
I think I watched it too late.
Bill, you seen the movie?
I've seen the movie.
All right. The trilogy's the greatest.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the greatest.
You yourself say that the third one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna chop one off, it's the third one.
Yeah.
It was a money grab.
Okay, I mean, no shame in that at
No.
all. But I mean, I didn't dislike the movie. I wouldn't label it as one of my favorites.
All right. Well, here's the setup. In the movie, this is we're gonna get to the point. Okay. In the movie, Marty McFly goes back in time in 1955. He goes back in time on November 5th.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He's got to stay a week in the movie. He's in Hill Valley back in time in 1955 for a week. So he comes back on November the 12th. So that means Marty McFly is in the past this week, right now, right? So in the calendar, he is in the past right now as we speak. So in the spirit of Marty McFly and his time travel, we're going to pretend like our past selves from training camp have hopped in the DeLorean. Doc Brown is a huge Colts fan, along with Marty McFly. They've hopped in the DeLorean. They've traveled to Week 10, and they haven't seen a minute of a Colts game this year. So we're gonna see if our past selves, along with Doc Brown and Marty McFly, would believe some of the things that are still killing this team, that are still haunting the Colts 9 games into the season. In fact, I think the DeLorean's over there. Marty McFly, I think. Marty! There he is! Hey! Marty! How we doing?
Whoa!
Marty!
How you doing, guys?
See, we've out.
All right, you got some room. We'll give you some room.
Marty went back in time, got himself a Colts polo, it looks like.
Went back in
He's
time.
outfitted beautifully.
Hey, you and you, let's go back. We got to go back to Westfield. That's where we are. Just happened. Matter of fact, I just bought you lunch over at Slim Chicken.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Your basketball shorts on. That's
right.
Take
Marty.
the Nuggets, I think.
Marty, there's a microphone over there if you want to use it.
I'll get to you. You look great in training. Now remember, we're fast forwarding to Week 10 right now from Westfield. So here we go. You ready? The first
great,
thing that I
Marty.
want to bring up to you guys
Gosh.
and get commented on: the Colts have a sluggish offense. They've passed for fewer than 200 net yards in 7 of 9 games, including 4 straight for the first time since 2017. The Colts have scored 20 points or less in 4 straight games. They have just 9 third down conversions in the last 3 games combined.
Marty, you could probably come on camera a little bit. You got enough slack.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to get through this thing. Would you? Because it is sluggish. I'll tell you, it is sluggish.
Right now, it's like the Wizard of Oz. And
Right.
Back to the Future, right? Pay no attention to that man.
Time of possession, guys. Think of this. The Colts had the ball an average of 9 fewer minutes than their opponents this season. Now, would your past self in training camp have believed this from the Colts offense? Bill, you're up there on the rail. Casey, you got the ear cans on. You're watching practice. Mate, you're on the mic there. Would you believe this offense is so sluggish?
No, I'm gonna be the first to say it.
Yeah.
No, because what we've seen out of Shane.
First off, would you have believed that there's a change of quarterback this
No,
year?
that's another really good one too. I mean, a change in quarterback, and ultimately we saw what Shane Steichen was able to do last year with, a limited Jonathan Taylor for a lot. You got Gardner Minshew change. So ultimately, I am shocked at the sluggishness of this offense. That's a hard word to say, sluggishness.
Yeah, you nailed it,
But
though.
thanks. But I am surprised for sure.
I would say the same thing. I thought going into this season with this offense, having AR for camp, having Jonathan Taylor for camp, and have those guys playing and having them both out on the field at the same time, they would do a lot of damage to some defenses out there. And I just think having the offense right now the way it's playing and it's being a little sluggish, it surprises me, especially time of possession.
Let's go back in time. I mean, sluggish.
I think the fans would love to see him, Marty.
Sluggish.
Is there any way we can?
You got me on a mic here like I'm entertaining somebody at a dinner crowd, but I'm serious. Here,
Marty's
guys,
so
we got to go.
multifaceted.
We have to go back in time where I can see it right now. Michael Pittman Jr. in training camp up at Westfield. He's getting in the mix with some rookie cornerbacks and stuff. There's an extracurricular activity. He is the Colts. His wallet is fat. He bought Maggie's Farm. I mean, all the offseason extension, and he's got everything in the. But we look at it now, guys. Would you believe this has been a slow start for Michael Pittman? Okay, the numbers that he has right now, they are the fewest since his 2020 rookie season. He's averaging just 40 yards per game and only 3 catches a game. Would you believe this if you're up at training camp right now? Matt Taylor, I'm starting with you, that Michael Pittman has been limited this year. Let's also throw in the back injury.
Yeah, I think the perfect way to start right there, because he has been dealing with the back, since week 5 when it popped up?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And with that alone, I think it's really miraculous. Maybe that's a little bit of an overstretch. But, I mean, we had national reports. We had guys like Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport saying that, Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be on IR. He's going to miss 4 games. And then that was a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and then here comes Friday at practice, and Michael Pittman Jr.'s full speed and full pass.
Right.
Yeah. We're like, well, what the heck's going on? But that just speaks to Michael Pittman Jr.'s toughness and his, I think, relentlessness to answer the bell and be a great teammate and be there for the guys. I think the obvious question now with the production going down, and obviously I don't think the quarterback switch has helped. That never helps in terms of the consistency of the wide receivers. But I think the obvious question now, Bill, you can attest to this, just you've played through injuries, is are we going to get to the point where we do have to maybe sit Michael Pittman Jr. down maybe a week or 2 in his best interest, as, again, those numbers just aren't reflecting what he has traditionally put up?
And I think that's the key, his best interest, because I think if you ask Pitt, he'll probably say, I'm ready. I can play.
Yeah.
I can play. And he'll try to play through that injury. And I don't know if that's the best thing for him. It might not be the best thing for the team as well. So, it might come a point where they say, hey, look, Mike, you know what? The best thing for this team and for you and your longevity is to sit out a couple of games, 1 or 2. And other guys just have to pick it up. And so that might have to be the case moving forward with
and he's only got 1 catch in each of the last 2 games. That's just not – a guy, Casey, coming off – 1,100 receiving yards and over 100 catches. There's clearly, again, he's playing compromised. I don't think anybody's going to make any excuses, but your eyeballs tell you that the offense just isn't the same. The quarterback change hasn't helped, and he's dealing with pain. Yeah,
there's definitely contributing factors to all of it. You talk about the quarterback change. Ultimately, just from both quarterbacks the last handful of weeks, just hasn't been consistent enough from them, so it does impact the receivers, but definitely playing compromised. And if you look at the schedule, you don't want to look too far ahead, but that bye week is still, I think, 5 weeks away.
Month away.
Yeah, so it is hard. You look at, you can keep him going another week, and then he will get that week, but you're really lingering. 5-6 weeks, that's tough to kind of see how long. So in some ways, I am anxious to kind of see if you get to that point where, as you guys kind of mentioned, you're protecting Michael Pittman from himself, because he's going to want to play every single week, because that's a competitor, as Shane Steichen talked about, not just at their position. He's just one of the toughest football players he's ever seen. So he's going to give it his all every week, but the numbers are definitely going down for sure.
Our past selves, Marty, would not have believed that back in training camp.
That is a big non-belief. I got the DeLorean running, so I'm going to be quick. Now let's go back
you
to
got
Westfield.
A whole case of petroleum over there?
Yes, I do. I'm ready to fly. Listen, would you believe? Let's go back.
Biff's on his tail.
Let's go back to Westfield training camp. That's where we are right now. When the old would you believe again, let's go back to the future, Casey. You're putting baby powder on your front office there. Don't forget about that. Everything's going on up there. It's hot. It's sweaty up at Westfield. God, it's just
Where's
awful.
the Gold Bond?
Living in an oven up there. But would you believe this? Believe it or not, Colts have 3 of the top 8 tacklers in the league. And Nick Cross, he is tied for 4th. Zaire Franklin overall number 1, and EJ Speed is tied for 7th. Those individual performances are great. They're amazing, but it also coincides with this. The Colts have seen 303 rushing attempts by the opposition, the second most in the NFL, and the Colts are giving up the second most rushing yards in the NFL at 149 yards per game. And guys, they have seen at least 40 rushing attempts in a game 3 times this season. Would your past self up at Westfield right now, would you have believed the top tacklers in the league playing for the Colts have such a major trade-off, though? Because it looks awful good on stats, Matt Taylor.
Yeah.
But there is a reason behind why they have 3 of the top tacklers.
Well, I would have said maybe not, especially when you factor in you lost DeForest Buckner for 5 games. I would have said, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But the fact is, I mean, that number was already ballooning way up early in the season with DeForest Buckner in the roster, right? When you are on the team, on the defense, you gave up over 200 yards in each of the first 2 games when Buckner was healthy and available. Maybe he wasn't 100% healthy, but he was available. He was out there. I think that, to me, is the most disappointing part of this defense. It should be the hallmark of the defense, considering you have 2 of the best interior defensive tackles in the game in Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. I mean, your front 7 should be the strength of the team, and just too many times this year, guys, that number has been north of 130, 140. You know, it's not, it hasn't been what it was in the beginning of the season, but when you put up or give up that high of a total at the beginning of the year, it's going to be really hard to gradually bring that number down, and that's why the Colts are right around 150 rushing yards allowed per game.
Yeah, simply for me, just if you looked at training camp, and if I'm an opposing team looking at this team, I'm getting ready to play them first game of the season. I look at them, I say, okay, they have Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner,
Franklin, Speed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Franklin, Speed, Pay, Kwity Paye,
Sure.
Dio, Taekwon. But you know what? They got young guys in the secondary. I'm not going to run the ball. Why am I going to run the ball?
Right.
I'll just go attack these young guys in the secondary. Jalen Jones, Juju Brents. I'll attack those guys, and I'll run when I need to, but I want to throw the ball. So in that sense, I thought the teams would maybe attack the secondary and then run when necessary because I know how good the defense was and the front 7 was. So I didn't think that would be a case, and I just thought that was, as you said, Mate, the strength of the defense. That front 7 would be the strength of the defense, and teams would stay away from that.
Yeah, and it's teams are trying to run the ball on the Colts, Casey, and they're accomplishing that early in the game. Like Marty said, I mean, we have they face at least 40 rushing attempts in a couple of games this season. So teams are coming in trying to establish the run like the Vikings did with Aaron Jones, and it wasn't. They didn't have a ton of huge plays, but it was the residual. It was the totality of the game, being able to stay on the field, stay on schedule. And I want to double back to something you said a little bit earlier. It's the offensive. It's the offense's part of not hanging up their end of the bargain in terms of time of possession. The defense is giving up 3rd downs. The offense isn't getting first downs. The Colts, they trail time of possession by an average of 9 minutes per game on the season, and they've only had the ball north of 30 minutes one time. That's just not a winning formula. Among a lot of other things that are still plaguing this team, ball control and the defense just getting gassed in terms of just total plays out there every Sunday, you just can't sustain that.
No, you're spot on. That all of that is, you know, I'm agreement with both of you. But going to Marty's question on the tacklers, I know that all plays into it. But I would have said 2/3 of that I would have agreed with at camp. I would have thought E.J. Speed and Zaire Franklin. Yeah. But this goes into Nick Cross and the early tackle numbers that he had. It all plays into with that running attack. So I mean pretty eye-opening numbers when you look at it with 3 guys in the top 8, but that's not necessarily the best formula to be a successful defense.
Good stuff, Casey. Hey, the DeLorean's running. Keep the speeches to a minor, will you please? We'll be quick a little bit. I'm burning fuel out there. I'm only here for a week, guys.
Where are you headed next?
I'm only here to the future. And by the way, Tanner Bortolini is coming up. We're going to have a one-on-one with him. That's just incredible. And by the way, he plays great this weekend against Buffalo. I promise you. Guys, I'm lacking time.
Sports almanac.
We're going to buzz around. I'll throw each individual one at you, and then I'm going to get out of here. Okay, what else would your past be surprised of this season? Bill Brooks, I'm going to start with you. Lack of major production from the tight end unit.
I would definitely be surprised at that because I thought going into the season and training camp that they would definitely have some more numbers than they have right now. So the lack of production, I won't say the play, but the lack of production from a receiving standpoint from the tight ends, that surprised me quite a bit.
Casey, sack total from last season down. That was a historic total of 51 this year, but they're not getting anywhere near that number on the average so far. Are you surprised?
I would have been very surprised because of the importance you have put on that front. I mean, you've got so many, I think it's 7 players on the defensive line were taken in the first 2 rounds. Your first round selection this year is Laiatu Latu. You bring back, you give Quiddy that 5th-year option. You're anticipating big numbers out of those guys. It's definitely been a little on the downside from what we were thinking we'd have.
Matt Taylor, we just saw him earlier today at training camp. Laiatu Latu being crazy good when he's getting in the backfield. A.D. Mitchell right there just doing crazy things on these double practices that the Colts have had. But fast forward 10 weeks. Are you surprised at what we're getting the impact from the top 2 draft choices?
Yeah, my past self would be surprised that you're not getting more from your premium draft picks. And, when you didn't have when you had so many draft picks in later rounds, you needed your premium guys to play well right away. I mean, every team needs their top draft picks to play well every year. But I am surprised that, Mitchell only has 12 catches. Laiatu Latu has the 2 sacks, and the sacks aren't the end-all, be-all, Marty, as you know. I mean, you're a huge football fan.
I am.
Right? But I think it's one of those things where I think the bell or the light bulb is going to start to go off for Laiatu Latu. I think you're going to start to see more pressures and overall disruptions, especially in crunch time, fourth quarter. That's why the Colts drafted him. That's where they think he can have the biggest impact long term. And I really think the game is going to start to slow down for Adonai Mitchell. We saw that toe drag swag in Minnesota.
Yes.
I think things are starting to click for him a little bit. He admitted at the beginning of the season he was maybe overthinking the game, putting too much sauce on routes, as he alluded to, just kind of do the basics. So I think they definitely need more out of those 2 guys. There's no question about it, Marty, but I think they should in the last 9 games.
Way to go Back to the Future with me, guys. You've done well right now, but like I said, I'm burning fuel out there. You got Tanner Bortolini's coming up. I've seen the interview. It's great already. I promise you. And I've got, okay, Casey, use your turn signals on the way home tonight. You're going to need it. I'm just telling you, Matt Taylor, always buckle up. And Bill Brooks, play that lottery tonight, pal. Go to that store and play those numbers. Guys, I got to get out of here. I got beans burning on the stove.
Marty!
All right, Marty.
I don't even know where we go from there. That is some epic acting right there from Marty McFly. The great Jeffrey Gorman. Back to the Future 4 in theaters this spring. Straight to DVD, I think, if anybody still watches
DVD, Blu-ray. Laser
Holy
disc.
smokes. Well, as Marty alluded to, we have a great conversation right now. It has to be great after that. Tanner Bortolini should be back in the Colts starting lineup, filling in for Ryan Kelly here in the interim, I should say, with Ryan being banged up on injured reserve. But the rookie is ready to step up. Take a listen. All right, indeed, it's time now to go one-on-one with Colts rookie center, interior offensive lineman Tanner Bortolini, the pride of Wisconsin. And Tanner, for you, obviously, this is a different week in that, you find out the news that Ryan Kelly, the longest tenured Colt, he's going on IR. He's going to miss at least the next 4 games. But it means more of a bigger role for you, more of an opportunity to play and possibly go back into that starting lineup. How do you compartmentalize, missing the veteran leadership that Ryan brings, but also knowing for you it's a bigger role and you could see more playing time?
Obviously Ryan getting hurt is something you never want to see. A great leader in our room, a great leader on this team, and nothing but the best for him. Hope for speedy recovery. Yeah. But with that, he would want me to fill in well. He wants the best for this team, and I think just being able to step in, fill that role, because he really does leave a big void in that room with that leadership,
Sure.
and he's a very high-level player. So just really capitalizing on this. I'm really excited for the opportunity to go play again because it's a game I love playing. And the last couple opportunities I had, I really enjoyed being able to go out there. So just focusing on what I can do every day to get better and better and just really capitalize on this opportunity.
Throughout your rookie season, how has Ryan helped you?
He's been huge, and especially when he got hurt early on, just helping me, explaining what he sees on certain things, what he would do in given situations, what his thought process is, and that's really helped me kind of develop. So it's obviously a little different game than college is, and everybody's good, bigger, faster, stronger. So just his thought process going through the week, what his preparation is, he's been really great at helping me transition to the NFL level.
Yeah, so you've got a couple starts under your belt now. You've been active and played in 6 straight games. Inactive those first couple of weeks of the season. For you, how do you think your rookie season's gone so far?
I feel like it's gone really well, and it's obviously the more opportunities you can get, the better. It's something you always want, and I've really enjoyed just kind of getting to learn from some really great players in the room. Q, Ryan,
Yeah.
Braden, they're all guys that have been playing at a high level for a long time now. So getting to pick their brain on things, asking them, what do they do off the field to take care of their bodies, because they have been playing at a high level for
Right.
such a long time. So being able to work with those guys on a day-to-day basis has really, I think, helped me capitalize on the opportunities that I have, and I've really enjoyed rookie season thus far.
Yeah, no question about it. And like you said, you're playing more, being more involved within this offense. You're, studying and film study is obviously just off the charts. Is that the biggest difference between college football and the NFL? I mean, obviously it's very serious in the Big Ten at Wisconsin, but what are the biggest differences between college ball and NFL for you in terms of the demand on your time?
I mean, I think it's just since everyone has more time now, you're not focused on school, that
Sure.
the scheme gets that much deeper, and your opponent's studying you that much more. So you have to do the same and prepare just as much, if not more, than they are. And I think that's a really big thing, is really just kind of figuring out, wow, the preparation demands are different than college. But it's something that I've gotten used to and kind of gotten into a rhythm as the seasons progress. And again, talking to those guys, seeing what they do, what helps them prepare and feel great on Sundays has been a really big part of that.
So you found your routine, right? How long has it taken you to find what works for you in terms of being in the building, but also when you're at home and you're by yourself, right? You have to find that inner discipline, if you will, to make sure you're still on top of things, right?
It definitely took the first few weeks, which is why I think, being inactive helped out and helped me get into that routine, because week 1, week 2, I was scrambling. You just your first couple weeks in a game week in the NFL, so you're getting used to different ways of going about it. And just kind of figuring out how those guys studied. It felt like I was constantly pressed for time. No matter how much I studied, I needed to study more.
Right.
And those guys really helped me figure it out, what I needed to be doing.
Sure.
And just kind of practice makes perfect. And that's honestly how it is with your preparation. The more chances I've had to do it and start over,
Right.
the more I've learned, okay, I felt good going into the Sunday. Maybe I didn't feel as good in these categories, and here's what I need to do better going into next week.
That's Tanor Bortolini with us. And your first start, week 4, was against the Steelers. And middle of the first quarter in that game, here comes Joe Flacco. You started the next game, week 5 in Jacksonville. Joe Flacco was the quarterback in that game too. So you are familiar with snapping to him and being in the huddle with him. What is it about Joe that brings confidence and poise to the rest of the huddle when he's in there?
I mean, you feel the presence of a guy like Joe in the huddle, where he has the confidence. He's calm, cool, collected in all situations, and he's a really talented player who's had a ton of experience throughout his NFL career. So there's not a situation Joe hasn't seen that Joe hasn't been in, and I think that brings a lot of confidence to not only myself but this entire offense as a whole.
He's got a different cadence, though, than Anthony Richardson. From a center, I mean, you're all about cadence. That's a huge part of your role and what you're out there to do in terms of orchestrating this offense along the offensive line. How long does it take you to get acclimated to a new quarterback and a new cadence?
I think at first it takes a while, especially if you're transitioning systems, but our quarterbacks do a really good job at trying to mirror each other's cadences, so that if anyone were to go down in any situation where we have to have a quick quarterback change, that there wouldn't be a big drastic change in cadence. And I think those guys do a really, really good job, and props to them for that.
All right, let's talk about this Bills defense. They come in, they've had season low 10 points in 4 different games. They're routinely giving up less than 20 points per game. What is it about this Bills defense that makes them so good from what you can see on film?
I think that the sum of the whole is greater than the individual parts.
There you go.
And it's really impressive to see how well that unit works together. I think there are guys that have really mastered that defense and mastered the schematics to it. So they know what to do. They have quick reactions, and I think it allows them to play free, play loose, and play at a high level. And they really just play well off of one another and as a unit.
Tony Sperano, I mean, he just seems like first of all, he just seems like a really good guy, like easy to talk to off the field, but as a coach too. How is he helping you, and how is he getting the most out of you, as a young guy, as a rookie?
I mean, he's great, and if I ever have any questions, he's more than willing to help me out off the field. And, there's certain things that may make sense to Ryan because he's been playing for so long.
Sure.
So if he words it a certain way and it makes sense to Ryan, and I'm sitting there, I don't know what he just said, didn't make sense to me. So if I ask him, he finds a way to word it where that makes sense to me. I feel good about it. He feels good about it. And that's been really huge because, I don't know if all coaches are like that, where they really coach the player, not the whole position room.
Right.
So it's been really cool, and he's been a really, really terrific coach.
All right, final couple things with Tanner Bortolini. Let's talk about you. All right, you are from Kewanee?
Kewanee.
All right, make sure I got that right. Kewanee, Wisconsin, small town on Lake Michigan. Did you grow up boating and fishing and doing all that stuff?
Yeah, I fish. Probably not as much as some of these other guys on this team, and they'll be the first to tell you that. But, I mean, I enjoyed hunting and fishing as a kid, and it's a really great place for that.
Yeah, and you also, in high school, you did track and field and basketball, right? What kind of hooper were you?
I was a big man. Obviously small school ball. It's a little different. So, you don't play one sport, you play three.
Yeah.
And if you're an athlete, you play everything. And that
Sure.
was the best part about it is, you play football with all these guys, basketball, and then track and field. And
Yeah.
I love basketball. The heavier I got, the harder it was to get up and down the court. So that was a transition as I got older. But definitely a lot of fun, just a big in the paint guy.
But I think you're the poster child, not to get on a soapbox here, but I think you're a good example of multiple sports are good. It's a good thing. Right now, nowadays, youth sports, we want to pigeonhole kids so early to do one thing or, one or two things. But, how much did playing basketball and the footwork there and the agility help you as a football player?
I think it's huge in that you're developing different skills, different muscle groups.
Right.
What you're doing in basketball is completely different than what you're doing in football. And I think it also helps with kind of kids burning out at an early age.
Yes.
Where, there's a lot of
Yes.
variety in what you're doing.
Yes.
You get excited to go play basketball. You get excited to do track. You get excited to do football instead of just doing it year-round for 10 years of your life.
Right.
Where I think for a lot of young kids, when you get older, it takes a toll on you. Where if you have that change of scenery, change in sport,
Yes.
you're excited to do it all over
Different
again.
friend group, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine trying to box you out, man. That'd be tough. All right, last one. You studied real estate and economics in college, right? So
Yep.
how'd you get involved in that, and what do you think you'd be doing if you weren't in the NFL right now?
Both my parents worked in the real estate industry,
Okay.
so from a young age got to get some experience in what they do, why they love what they do, and get to work and see what they do in the offices. So I really enjoyed that, and then was able to carry forward with that in college. So what I would do if I wasn't playing, I'm not entirely sure, and it's something I probably don't want to worry about for a long time.
Yeah, you got a little bit ways to go.
Obviously, something in the real estate industry. What exactly, I'm not 100% sure, but it's a very broad industry.
All right.
There's plenty of options.
He's a starting center now, also a future mogul in the real estate world there. It's Tanor Bortolini. Tanner, really appreciate your time. All the best coming up this weekend.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks again right there to Tanor Bortolini, rookie draft pick for the Colts out of Wisconsin. Outdoors guy, loves to hunt, loves to fish, and a good basketball player, as we found out right there. So he is ready to take on this, ready to take the baton from Ryan Kelly at the center position in that offensive line unit. All right, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if this is going to be as entertaining as the Marty McFly segment a few moments ago, but we're going to do our best because anytime you talk about Buffalo, you got to talk about wings. That's what they're known for, right? I mean, we've been up there 100 times. We have our favorite wing spots. What was your favorite spot up there? Was it Gabriel's Gate or Anchor Bar?
Anchor Bar.
Anchor Bar?
Anchor Bar was-
That's the original,
Yeah,
no?
the Anchor Bar was for
that's
me,
where the
so I
legend
went there
started.
and just got wings and hung out with the family and friends and
Yeah.
things like that. So it was a good time.
All right, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills as it relates to different wing sauces. All right, hot sauce here. You got to talk about the Bills being hot. They're 7-2, winners of 4 straight. They're off to their best start since 2020. They're in second place in the AFC in terms of the overall playoff picture, behind only the Chiefs. But they're in first place in their division by 4 games. Right, they can just drive down 70 on cruise control, and they should be okay. But they've won 4 straight AFC East titles. They've made the playoffs 5 years in a row. They've scored 30 or more in 6 games. That's the most in the NFL. They've held 4 opponents to 10 points or fewer. Hot sauce take, Casey Vallier. The Bills are really, really good. Why have they been able to sustain this level of success? Because outside of the Chiefs, they are the class of the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, you got to tip your cap to Sean McDermott. He has done a wonderful job there, leading the Bills for so long. But it's a quarterback league. You got to. It all starts with Josh Allen, and this year, it's something where you waited. As a young guy, you could see all the talent. You waited for him to take that next step, and it seems like he just keeps taking steps. Like last year, he had an incredible year, but the one negative he had was turning the football over.
Great point.
This year, I mean, he's got 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles, just 4 total turnovers through 9 games, which, that's what you want out of your quarterback, but that's just not been his game. Like, you kind of live with those picks that he's going to throw or trying to make an extra move on a play and fumbling the football. It just hasn't been there this year. So when I look at what the Bills do, you can look at where they rank as far as total defense, total offense. It's not going to blow you away, but they are just so fundamental. They take the football away.
Yep.
They don't turn it over. They score points, and the defenses allow points. It seems pretty basic and pretty easy, but that's what the Bills do very well.
And the one area they are pretty good is, from a statistical standpoint, is you look at the red zone. Offensively, offensively they're good in the red zone. Defensively, they're good in the red zone. I think offensively they're 6th in the league, and defensively I think they're 7th. So when they get into the red zone, more likely they're going to try to score. They're going to score points, not try to score. They are going to score points. And defensively, they do a good job of keeping teams out of the end zone. They give up yards. They're probably in the middle of the pack as far as how much yards they give up in the NFL. So that means they bend but don't break. So that's what they're going to do, and that's what they're good at.
Is it fair to say that they're almost, I don't know if better, but they're certainly different, maybe a little bit more efficient on offense without Stephon Diggs? Because it's, their motto on offense, I've read up on them this week, is it's everybody eats.
Right.
And everybody is eating. It's more of a wide receiver or a pass catcher by committee there. They've had 10 different players catch a touchdown pass this season. That's the most in the NFL.
I'm not saying it's a direct comparison, but it's in some ways what you saw out of Kansas City when they moved on from Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
You were expecting the drop off, but ultimately what it was you just make everybody else better and you utilize everybody else, and therefore for a defense you can't just target one player. Now you've got to focus on everybody. And I mean, this is not at all saying that outside of Stephon Diggs they didn't have talent, because Khalil Shakir, he's showing what he can do. They just added Amari Cooper. They drafted Keon Coleman, essentially a first-round pick. He was a couple picks into the second round. And Dalton Kincaid is one of the best-kept secrets as a tight end in all of football. So they have a lot of weapons, but they're just being able to spread the ball around. And then don't forget, Josh Allen is about as good of a weapon as you can have in the background.
Playground quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I don't know if Coleman is going to play, by the way.
Right, Coleman might be out, yeah.
Right, but I mean, I think that's the key for them. They can spread the ball around, and they feel comfortable with, okay, this week, you know what, it could be Shakir this week. You know, next week it could be someone else. It could be Dalton Kincaid. So they're going to take what you give them as far as from an offensive standpoint, what the defense gives them, and they can spread the ball around. It keeps the defense off balance.
Yep. All right, we did hot sauce right there. Let's go mild sauce. So a little middle of the road.
Okay.
It's not going to burn your mouth. But
probably
it's
my go-to.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is a good way to describe the Bills' defense, but they're kind of mild. They're giving up under 20 points per game. That's good. Only 16 points per game during this 4-game winning streak that they're on. But the defense is kind of middle of the road on the big picture, but they are saucy in some key areas. They're 4th in takeaways, 8th in passing yards per attempt, so they don't give up big plays. 7th in lowest red zone touchdown percentage, like you were talking about, Bill, 46.9%. The pass rush isn't going to blow you away. They're kind of like the Colts in that they don't blitz a lot. Their blitz rate is pretty low, under 20% on the season. So, Casey, mild sauce take. Can the Colts feast on this Bills? Even from a scheme standpoint, they are kind of who they are. They play a lot of nickel defense.
Yeah.
Kind of that over front against the run up front. Is this the game where Joe Flacco says, "Yep, seen this before. Let's let her rip here"?
Yeah, that's what I kind of gather, because I think a couple of the areas that you would look at this defense and say you can attack are kind of the benefits and the positives of where the Colts are. I think you saw what Jonathan Taylor did to this style of defense a couple years ago in 2021, 5 total touchdowns. So I think it all starts with the run game.
Yeah.
Bills defense against the run, they've been up and down. They've had some good, some bad, right there in the middle of the road. So I think it all starts with the run game, and it opens up everything else. And I think this is one of those games where you may not have a lot of those deep shots, but I think a lot of the intermediate stuff is going to be available. So Joe Flacco being a guy who is kind of, in some ways, he's got the deep ball, but he also, to be successful in this league, it's important to take what the defense gives you. And I think the defense is going to allow a lot of completions and ways to move the football if you are methodical about your approach. So I think there's definitely a good sense for the Colts offense to move the football against this Bills defense.
I agree. And I think this is what maybe people were wanting to see last week against Minnesota. Just move the ball down the field, have some time possession, help your defense out, and just take what the defense gives you. They give you that 10-yard pass, take it. They give you that dump pass for 5 yards. They'll give you that shallow route. They'll give you the ball out of the backfield to JT or whoever's back there. That's what you take. You get to 2nd and 5, and then you get to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, get a first down, another set of downs, move the ball down the field. I think that's what they give you. I think the Colts can take advantage of that, and hopefully they will. I think Joe Flacco is built for that, to take advantage of things like that. So we'll see what happens on Sunday.
There you go. All right, there's a myriad of other wing sauces you can go to. All right, everybody's got their new concoction and their own recipes. But let's go to the dry rub to close out. Could the Colts possibly be getting the Bills at the right time? And you say that out loud, and you're like, what are you talking about, dude? They're 7-2. They've won 4 in a row. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. Like, what are you on right now? But the Bills have won 12 of their last 14, dating back to last year. I'm just saying, fellas, follow me here. They've blown a lot of teams out. The Colts have been in one-score games, all 9 of them, 11 straight dating back to last year. They're not going to panic if they get into a 4-minute deal and it's a one-score game because they've seen this.
They live there,
yeah. That's where they live. That's their neighborhood. And plus, too, you look ahead, and you got a huge showdown coming up next week. Buffalo against the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody's going to be talking about that game because of what it's meant and what it's produced in terms of entertainment and drama between the Clash of the Titans and the AFC the last couple of years. Epic playoff matchups. I don't know. Plus, it's hard to win 5 games in a row in the NFL. It just is. I mean, this league is tough. Could the Colts be getting the Bills maybe at a right time, looking ahead to what's coming down the pike for them next week?
I think if you want to say yes, they are, is because they
might be wishful thinking.
They are looking down the road to Kansas City, and you know what? Maybe their thought process might be, you know what? The Colts, we have to win this game because maybe they say, hey, we want to fight for best record in the division, so they need to win this game. Can't lose. Don't want to fall too far behind Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
But I think their minds are looking at KC. I really do. So I think this could be a good time for the Colts to catch them right now, playing them this week.
So Bill's calling it a trap game. That's what Bill's calling it.
Basically,
I like that. There is something to say about that. I think what you said right before was that it's hard to win 5 games in a row. Like, that is something that it doesn't happen often, and that is a really good point because this Bills team. I mean, last week you escape with a 61-yard field goal to win. And it's against a Dolphins team who, yes, Tua is back, but, it's up and down. So last week they didn't blow anybody out. You relied on that.
Right.
There is something to be said. It was funny because Joe Wrights mentioned this in the show on Monday night that I think it's the best time to get the Bills is right now when they're really reading the news clippings and all
very,
that.
Very optimistic, and you got to love him.
Very much.
We are too, right?
I thought about it all week, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's on to something. So there is that. You're looking ahead because that Clash of the Chiefs. That's everybody's going to be talking about that game all week next week. So there is something where you don't want to look too far ahead, but they might be looking over their shoulder a little bit and looking at that schedule and seeing the upcoming opponent.
All right. I'm making up the swing sauce on the fly. But the last time the Colts played the Bills, 2021, wasn't at Lucas Oil Stadium. It was in Buffalo, kind of a rainy, dreary day, but Jonathan Taylor made it very sunshiny for the Colts. He had 185 rushing yards, set a club record with 5 touchdowns, including 4 rushing. How does, quickly, because I know we got to wrap up, but how does the running game and the running approach in the running game change for the Colts now that Anthony Richardson's not in the same backfield with Jonathan Taylor? Because I think the lowest 3 rushing totals for the Colts this year have been when Joe Flacco's at quarterback.
Well, just basically, defense just doesn't have to really concern themselves with Joe Flacco running the ball. I mean, they're not going to say, okay, you know what, hey, we have to make sure we have some person spy the quarterback because he can run the ball when he drops back. And so that actually takes someone else and puts them in the box, so to speak, for the running game to concentrate on Jonathan Taylor. Where the other times maybe they have to concentrate on AR because AR can get around the corner. You don't want him getting those big runs.
Right.
A la Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen does the same thing for them. Maybe not so much they have a lot of designs runs for him, but he can run and scramble in the pocket. So I think it makes it a little bit more difficult, but I think the Colts have to lean on Jonathan Taylor in the run game against this Buffalo Bills team and going forward. I think they need to get this run game going to help them with other things in the offense. And if they can get JT going and the running game going, I think it will help this offense have some time of possession and hopefully score some points.
Yes,
Because to me, that's been the big thing for me.
yes.
Is that time of possession is just ridiculous.
It's been so discouraging.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
You look at it and it doesn't make sense, to be honest. The time of possession's been wild.
Yeah, hopefully the pass can set up the run too. Be
Yes,
more
exactly.
threats outside the numbers and
Yep.
push the ball down the field to open up the running game. Hopefully lighten up the box a little bit. But everybody's going to have their theories and their ability to stack the box early in the game, making sure that Jonathan Taylor is not the guy that beats him because he is public enemy number one on the scouting report for
Exactly.
the Colts offense. All right, your favorite place in town to get wings? Because now I'm hungry. Now my belly is rumbling a little
Here
bit. Yeah,
in Indianapolis?
Yeah, favorite place around town.
Oh, gee. I don't know. I'll just go B-Dubs.
B-Dubs? All right.
Yeah, B-Dubs.
It's a classic. Where
Yeah.
you go?
Ale Emporium.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hermanaki
They-
action.
They are.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Emporium is
Yep.
good.
Like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
What about
the,
you?
The Willard down in Franklin. I lived across the street from the Willard in college. So, yeah, that was kind of deadly. For a while there, I couldn't eat them because it was, so frequent. I can't do it
I gotta
anymore.
stop. I gotta stop.
gotta stop.
But now that I've been removed, I'll,
You go back
you
down
go
there?
back and, some good memories.
Okay.
Come back to the
Okay.
noggin there for sure.
Okay.
All right. Well done. Where do you guys think Marty McFly is right now? Like 2040? He's watching the Reds win the World Series. That's what I picture.
Oh, that's what you
2040 though. So okay.
2040.
So
Oh,
that means we have to deal with Matt for the next 20 years. Just
That means the
maybe.
Dodgers and the Cubs and the Yankees all went bankrupt. Just here to tell you.
And the Red Sox. They went
And the Red
bankrupt
Sox,
too.
exactly. Yeah, they went belly up. They started their own league. I think that's what opened the door for the small market teams. All right, good on you there. That's Bill Brooks and Casey Vallier. I'm Matt Taylor. Thanks to the legendary Marty McFly and Jeffrey Gorman, wherever the heck he is. He was bringing the heat on that segment.
Bringing the
Ava,
sauce.
thank you so much for your help on the ones and twos behind the scenes. That's going to do it for us. Colts and Bills coming up on Sunday. Thanks for watching and listening on YouTube and the Colts Audio Network. And we'll talk to you next week breaking down Colts and Jets. So long.